budget. We're going to join Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe, and hit the notifications, and think about becoming a member of Speak the Truth 2.0 and stay for the content. But the content is great. After she has her press conference, we will be reacting to it. So let's go live. I think that she is ready to speak.
We are now in day 3 of the Democrat-led government shutdown. The Democrats continue to recklessly hold the American people hostage over their demands to give illegal aliens free health care. Republicans are fully unified behind passing nonpartisan clean funding bill, the exact same bill that Democrats approved back in March to reopen the federal government. But those same Senate Democrats are now voting against this clean funding bill and keeping the people's government closed. I understand Democrats will have an opportunity very shortly here to change course, and we hope that they will. There are significant personal impacts on millions of Americans as a result of this current government shutdown. The 1.3 million men and women of America's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Space Force who serve honorably and put their lives on the line to defend us all are not being paid. Military families are already seeking out food assistance because of financial anxiety caused by this Democrat shutdown. According to new reporting from the Military Times, staff members at the Armed Services YMCA food pantry distribution location near Fort Hood in Texas found a line of military families stretched around the side of the building yesterday at 5 in the morning. According to the staff who work there, that is, quote, not happened ever. They've already had a 34% increase this week over past weeks. President Trump and Republicans fundamentally believe we have a sacred responsibility to protect and provide for our military families with the resources they need to thrive. If Democrats believe in this very simple premise too, they should end this shutdown immediately. Unfortunately, the severe impacts of the Democrat shutdown extend beyond our troops. Nearly 7 million mothers, infants, and low-income families who rely on government-run food assistance will be in jeopardy if the WIC program runs out of money in the weeks ahead. The more than 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that Americans fly safely in airports across the country are currently working without pay. The National Flood Insurance Program is in danger of lapsing, which could leave families without necessary help if a disaster strikes, and we are in the middle of hurricane season. Critical services offered at Social Security field offices are reduced for senior citizens and disabled Americans. Helpful transition assistance programs are not being provided for veterans who fought to defend our country and are now trying to re-enter civilian life. The economic consequences of this shutdown are piling up every day. Policymakers, markets, and even the Federal Reserve are flying blind at a key juncture because BLS and BEA data are on hold until the government reopens. Democrats shutting down the federal government to give health care to illegal aliens could lead to lower growth and higher unemployment rates for Americans. According to a new memo from the Council of Economic Advisors, the U.S. economy could lose $15 billion of gross domestic product each week. Every single week, the Democrat shutdown extends, with a month-long shutdown leading to an additional 43,000 unemployed people. Small businesses are likely to encounter delays in receiving federal loans. Mortgage applications will likely shrink. And just this morning, Business Roundtable, an association of more than 200 CEOs of Americans' leading companies, representing every sector of the U.S. economy, put out a statement urging Congress to pass the clean CR that will once again come before them in the Senate floor in just a few moments. Quote, a fully functioning government is essential for American businesses, workers, and consumers, while policymakers continue working on a full-year funding package and other pressing issues. Again, that is a quote from the Business Roundtable. What's clear is that the Democrats' actions account to an intentional sabotage of our country and our people by shutting down our government. This madness must end. President Trump and Republicans are calling on Democrats to reopen the government immediately on behalf of the American public. All we need are 5 Democrat senators to do the right thing and to stop this shutdown. Call your Democrat senator and tell them to vote yes to reopen the government. On another matter, despite the Democrat shutdown, President Trump's efforts to make America safe again continue. President Trump believes that American cities should be the safest places on earth, and he is committed to making this a reality. We've already seen that President Trump successfully made D.C. safe again in only a few weeks. That same crime crackdown will continue to happen in cities across the country and is happening in Portland, Oregon. President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Karoline to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists. What's been allowed to happen in Portland, and we saw disturbing video footage of this last night, this is not peaceful protesting, this is left-wing anarchy that has been destroying this great American city for years, leaving police officers battered, citizens terrorized, and business properties damaged. Since early June alone, Antifa terrorists have laid siege to the ICE field office in South Portland. These radical left-wing lunatics have violently breached the ICE facility by using a stop sign as a battering ram, hurled explosives and other projectiles at law enforcement, repeatedly assault and dox officers, berate their law-abiding neighbors, and have even rolled out a guillotine in front of the ICE facility. And more people should be reporting on that. President Trump has sent federal law enforcement to protect federal assets and arrest those fueling this violence. Just last night, we saw an extremely troubling incident where conservative journalist Nick Sorter was captured on video being taken into custody by the Portland police after he was ambushed by Antifa and was defending himself from these assaults. But instead of arresting these violent mob members night after night after night who are ravaging this community, the police arrested a journalist who was there trying to document the chaos, and everyone in this room should be extremely concerned about that. The Department of Justice spoke with that journalist this morning, and they will be launching a full investigation into his arrest. This incident is part of a troubling trend in Portland where left-wing mobs believe they get to decide who can visit and live in their city. It is not their city, it is the American people's city, and President Trump is going to restore that. I just spoke with the president about this, and he has directed his team here at the White House to begin reviewing aid that can potentially be cut in Portland. We will not fund states that allow anarchy. There will also be an additional surge of federal resources to Portland immediately, including enhanced CBP and ICE resources. Law and order will prevail, and President Trump will make sure of it. With that, I'll take your questions, and we will begin today's briefing with our new media seat, Amanda Head from Just the News. Amanda, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Karoline. On that most recent topic that you mentioned, reportedly Portland police have not been able to engage protesters to the degree that they normally would. Does the president plan on handling this from that angle as well with city leaders?
Yes. From our understanding, the law enforcement that we have here in the Homeland Security Task Force, I spoke with them this morning, and what they're seeing is that unfortunately, local police has been restricted from responding or cooperating at all with federal authorities, which is completely absurd. We have surged federal law enforcement personnel to this city to restore law and order and to work alongside local law enforcement. And we've seen the benefits of this in Washington, D.C. And all of you live here, so you can agree Washington, D.C. is and feels much safer because of the cooperation between federal and local law enforcement. They can and must be working together, and we think it's despicable that these local elected officials who swear an oath to protect their people are preventing law enforcement from doing their jobs on the ground. So that's why the president has directed his team here at the White House, and they are already on it to look into how we can cut funds. And the president wants to work with anyone. If the mayor of Portland were to call him right now and say, "Mr. President, please help us," I am sure the president would be willing to do that. He is genuinely serious about wanting to restore order in America's cities. But it's become apparent that the local and elected officials in Oregon do not feel the same. And that's very unfortunate for the people who live there.
And then one more question on the government shutdown. Should there be some type of scheduled layoffs to maybe entice Democrats to come to the table, like every hour another agency, another 100 pink slips? I'm sure Russ Vought has a list of folks ready to go.
Well, look, the Office of Management and Budget, as we've said repeatedly, is working with the agencies and our cabinet secretaries to identify where cuts unfortunately can and have to be made. And again, we understand there's another vote happening on the Senate floor in an hour. Maybe if Democrats do the right thing, this government shutdown can be over. Our troops can get paid again. We can go back to doing the business of the American people. But if this shutdown continues, as we've said, layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that. And Russ Vought has been in contact with our cabinet secretaries at their respective agencies to discuss that. Thank you, Amanda. Kelly.
How would this administration define what makes a Democrat agency, which agencies, and what constitutes being a Democrat agency?
I think this administration has been very clear, Kelly, that we're not going to tolerate waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. And we've also been very clear to point out when agencies or when programs do not align with this administration's values of putting our country first. You've seen that with USAID and in various other cases where there's been cuts made or funding has been slashed. And so, again, unfortunately, we're having to do a massive review of the bureaucracy to be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar. And it's the Democrats who have forced the White House and the president into this position by voting to shut the government down.
You've talked about thousands likely layoffs coming. Do you have an update on the timeline for that? How quickly? And if the government is restored to funding and back in operation, will that list of potential layoffs still be on the table?
Look, as I just stated, the Office of Management and Budget is in constant communication and contact right now with our cabinet secretaries and agencies across the board to identify, unfortunately, where layoffs have to be made and where cuts have to happen. But again, the Democrats have an opportunity to prevent this if they vote to reopen the government. That is all this administration and the president is asking for. Vote for a clean, continuing resolution to keep the government open. Peter.
Thank you, Karoline. During the
Thank
campaign,
you, Peter.
I was raised to say thank you in the White House briefing room. During the campaign, President Trump said that he did not know anything about Project 2025. Now he knows about it. Is that the blueprint for shrinking the government?
Look, the blueprint is what the president and his team and his cabinet secretaries ultimately decide. And the president trusts his cabinet secretaries to identify where there is waste, fraud, and abuse. We pointed out this morning, or Russ Vought tweeted about this morning, a Chicago rail project that was canceled. We paused $2.1 billion in Chicago infrastructure projects, specifically the Red Line extension and the red and purple modernization projects. And it's because the administration is concerned that the Biden administration was handing out taxpayer dollars to pay for this construction based on DEI. DOT is reviewing the race-based contracting on unconstitutional grounds. And in the meantime, the Department of Transportation funds for these projects are on hold. So I guess this answers both of your questions. This would be an example of that.
And just because there's so much shutdown talk, something different. What do you guys think about the NFL's decision to name Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl halftime performer, somebody who has not scheduled shows in the U.S. because he says that he is worried that ICE is going to come and arrest his fans?
Well, look, I know there are many in this room who are very anxious to hear the president's response to Bad Bunny being the halftime show, so I won't get ahead of him. I won't reveal what he feels about this. Next time you all ask him a question, you're welcome to do that. I have my own feelings on that, but that's not what I'm up here to talk about. As far as ICE being at the Super Bowl, as far as I'm aware, there's no tangible plan for that in store right now. However, of course, this administration is always going to arrest and deport illegal immigrants when we find them. If they are criminals, we're going to do the right thing by our country. Kate.
Did the president and Russ Vought decide yesterday in their meeting which cuts they wanted to make to agencies and which ones would be permanent?
Again, I've kind of answered this question a few different times now. It's been asked in a few different ways. Their discussions continue between the Office of Management and Budget and cabinet agencies across the board, and they are actively identifying where these cuts and these layoffs have to be made as this government shutdown hopefully does not continue.
And on Hamas, the president said that if Hamas rejects the proposal that Netanyahu would have his full backing to finish the job. A UN report found that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Does the president have concerns about the civilians being killed, the worsening humanitarian crisis, and are there limits to what the White House would support when it comes to Israel's actions in Gaza?
Look, the president has deep concerns about all of the atrocities that have taken place in the Middle East over the past few years. It's deeply unfortunate that he inherited this mess from the Biden administration. If you all recall, under President Trump in his first term, the Middle East was on a pathway for peace and prosperity. There was the historic signing of the Abraham Accords. Israel was on a path to normalization between Arab and Gulf nations, and we hope that can continue. But right now, the president has made it very clear to Hamas that this is an acceptable and detailed proposal that they must accept or the consequences are going to be very grave for them. And he has given them a deadline of Sunday evening at 6 p.m. When I was out here on Wednesday, I told all of you, I'll leave it to the president to make that red line, and he now has. I think the entire world should hear the president of the United States loud and clear. And Hamas has an opportunity to accept this plan and to move forward in a peaceful and prosperous manner in the region. And if they don't, the consequences, unfortunately, are going to be very tragic. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Has the president declared war on international drug cartels? And if so, or if he will, does he feel he needs congressional approval?
As the White House has said many times, the president has directed these actions, these strikes against Venezuelan drug cartels and these boats, consistent with his responsibility to protect the United States interests abroad and in furtherance of the U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. This is pursuant to his constitutional authority as commander-in-chief and the chief executive to conduct foreign relations. In each of these cases, Michael, the vessels have been assessed by the U.S. intelligence community to be affiliated with designated terrorist organizations engaged at the time in trafficking illicit drugs to our country. The president has been very clear, dating back to the campaign trail, that he is always going to do what's in the best interest of the American homeland. And he also promised the American people he was going to end the drug epidemic that has taken far too many American lives. And you're seeing those actions play out almost every single day here.
Last question on the shutdown, Caroline. Hakeem Jeffries has said that President Trump is in the Presidential Witness Protection Program since the shutdown has begun. What's the White House's reaction to that?
That's just more ridiculous fodder from Hakeem Jeffries. As you all know, because you're here every day, the president is literally working around the clock right now. I think he has a swearing-in ceremony, or he already did. He has several meetings on the books today. He literally works 24/7. Anyone who works in this place or covers this place, as you all do, knows that to be true. And Hakeem Jeffries and the Senate Democrats should get back to work in a few minutes and vote to reopen the government. Emily.
You spoke earlier about the energy and infrastructure projects that during your vote paused. Will the White House agree to restore that funding as part of the deal to end the shutdown?
Well, I won't make any agreements here. Senate Republicans are talking with their colleagues on the Democrat side, but right now, Russ Vought is doing what he's been tasked to do in the midst of this government shutdown, which is to look at funds that need to be temporarily halted or need to be canceled. And Chicago is just another example of that.
Caroline.
Put a Libby in the back.
Thank you, Bill. I have two questions for you. One on the FDA, but first on the shutdown.
Sure.
Will the administration, if this government shutdown ends, still move forward with firing thousands of federal workers?
Look, as I've said repeatedly, Libby, right now we want the government to be open. Layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of a government shutdown, and it's something the administration is examining. If the government is reopened, we're going to get back to doing what we were doing last week and the week before, working on the issues that the American people care about.
And then on the FDA, they just approved that new abortion pill, and it's causing a lot of uproar among the Republicans. What is the president's response to that, and does the administration plan to have that pulled that FDA?
Well, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Bobby Kennedy, has put out several statements on this. The HHS's decision, it's not an endorsement of this drug by any means. They are just simply following the law. And as they put out in their statement, by law, the Secretary of Health and Human Services must approve a generic drug application if the application demonstrates the generic drug is the, quote, same as the brand name drug. Generic applicants are not required to submit independent evidence proving safety and effectiveness. As such, FDA's decision to approve a second generic version does not address the merits of the current safety program. HHS is reviewing adverse effects to ensure that FDA's required safety program for the drug is sufficient to protect women. This safety review equally applies to generic versions of this drug. So FDA and HHS are following the law. It's, again, not an endorsement of the drug itself. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions on the shutdown. You've argued that these impending layoffs are necessary to keep essential services up and running, but that has never been the case in any previous shutdown. Even when the government was shut down for 35 days in Trump's first term, you've never had to lay off thousands of workers to keep essential services up and running. So why are layoffs now necessary in this shutdown?
Because we have an administration and we have a president who are wholeheartedly focused on restoring fiscal sanity to our government and doing the right thing by the American taxpayer. We are $37 trillion in debt, and the federal government is currently shut down. There is no more money coming into the federal government's coffers. And as you've also seen since the beginning, in January, this administration is focusing on waste, fraud, and abuse. And so Democrats have given this administration an unenviable choice to have to take a look at the balance sheet and identify where these cuts and layoffs can be made.
And you just said this is an unenviable choice, that this is an unfortunate consequence, but the president has described this as an unprecedented opportunity to lay off additional workers. He's posted a video likening Russ Vogt to the Grim Reaper. So which is this? Is this an opportunity to fire more workers or an unfortunate consequence?
Look, the president likes to have a little fun every now and then, and I think both things can be true at the same time. The Democrats have given the administration this opportunity, and we don't like laying people off. Nobody takes joy in that around here, and if you think that, then I think that's very sad. You view the White House and our staff as wanting to put people out of work. Nobody wants to do that, but sometimes in government you have to make tough decisions. Carrie.
Going back to the portion as far as the city council there is concerned, they appear to be very sympathetic towards the protesters who are at the ICE facility. Is the White House considering invoking the Insurrection Act over Portland? That's something they are considering also. As far as the Portland City Council is concerned, are they looking at the members there who are appear to be helping out the protesters as far as suggesting to get burner phones, et cetera, et cetera?
That's not something I've heard that's under consideration or discussion at this time. Caroline. Is everybody yelling in the back? Go ahead.
Me? Sure. Thank you. Bianca Gracia here, and I have a question. This week, the Democrats have chosen illegals over hard-working Hispanic Americans during Hispanic Heritage Month, causing the White House to cancel the celebration with the president. Is the president open to letting the Hispanics who overwhelmingly voted for him have their own siesta fiesta in the White House lawn opposed to the fancy, we don't need fancy, right? We can give us the backyard and we'll fill it all in and having our own fiesta. Is the president open to that?
I had no idea she was going to ask that question. I just want to preface that. I've never met you. I just want to say that, but welcome to the briefing room. I love your energy. I can't personally unilaterally promise the South Lawn grounds. We have some construction going on out there. But I know that everyone here views it as very unfortunate we had to cancel or hopefully just reschedule the Hispanic American Heritage Month event. And it's because we are working around the clock during this government shutdown. When the Democrats vote to reopen the government, that event will be back in the planning stages. Brian, go ahead.
Welcome to the briefing room, by the way. I was with the Secretary of War and the Attorney General in Memphis just the other day as we were going to a command center. And I noticed a billboard along the highway that said, Memphis welcomes the National Guard. Now, what is your message today to Democrat mayors watching us right now that suffer from TDFs and they cannot get Trump out of the way to saving their city? Portland being one.
They should do the right thing by their citizens, Brian. They should call the president, they should call the White House and say, we want to work with you. And in Memphis, we are seeing some cooperation, as you saw from that billboard. The people of Memphis are loving this, and they are very grateful for the federal government's efforts. And federal law enforcement is there. We're working alongside local law enforcement. We'd like to see it ramped up a little bit because we want to make progress and we want to arrest as many bad criminals as we can. Since Monday, I do have some updated statistics from the Homeland Security Council this morning. Since Monday, 153 arrests have been made in Memphis, including 5 gang members. 48 illegal guns have been seized, and 5 missing children have already been recovered. Last night, 60 arrests were made and 21 illegal firearms were seized. Arrests from last night include a suspect wanted for rape of a child under 13, first-degree murder, breaking and entering, aggravated assault, illegal drug possession, and many more. So we continue to see good results coming in through Memphis, and the president is very excited about making Memphis safe again.
Thank you. At the top of the briefing, you made a statement about that the Democrats are interested in giving health care to illegal immigrants.
Yes, they are.
U.S. law already prohibits that. It's a 1996 law saying that they cannot give unauthorized immigrants any federally subsidized health care coverage through Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, or the Children's Health Insurance Program. There seems to be a disconnect in the message.
Are you denying that Medicaid money has never gone to illegal aliens in the United States of America?
I'm asking you if you can explain the disconnect in the message.
I most certainly can. The Democrats' proposal, their continuing resolution, let me just reiterate, the Republicans' continuing resolution was a clean continuing resolution. There was no partisan politics injected into it. There were no conservative wish lists injected to it. What the Republicans want, and still want to this very second, is a clean continuing resolution to fund the United States government. What did the Democrats want in their continuing resolution? They inserted a provision to undo a provision in the Working Families Tax Cut, the One Big Beautiful Bill, that ended taxpayer-funded health care illegal benefits for illegal aliens. Democrats' proposal would require Medicaid to pay more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than Medicaid does for American patients who are disabled, elderly, or children. And this bill would have also allowed California to continue a gimmick that funds its Medicaid for Illegals program. Those are things that we ended, the Trump administration ended, with the passage and the signage of the One Big Beautiful Bill. And it is an undisputed fact, a fact that under the Biden administration, illegal aliens were absolutely receiving taxpayer-funded health care benefits. In fact, in fiscal year 2024, Medicaid costs for emergency services for illegal immigrants skyrocketed by 142% from the previous year to $9.1 billion. That's $9.1 billion taxpayer dollars that were going to emergency services for illegals. Between President Trump's last full fiscal year under his first administration and Joe Biden's last full fiscal year, Medicaid spending on emergency services for illegal immigrants nearly tripled. There was an increase of 196% between 2020 and 2024. And I have a chart here for you, and I'm more than happy to email it to you. I'd also like to add, because some were asking dishonest questions yesterday about emergency rooms. In Southern California, according to healthcare professionals in 2023, under the Biden administration, Southern California's, quote, entire healthcare system was being bombarded with illegal immigrants and forcing American patients to endure longer wait times. In Denver, Colorado, the CEO of Denver Health stated that 8,000 illegal immigrants made 20,000 visits to the city's health system in 2023, leaving an uncompensated bill totaling over $10 million. So when an illegal alien goes to the emergency room, who's paying for it? The American taxpayer. The main safety net hospital in Denver had to turn away patients due to the massive influx of illegal immigrants into the community, and UC Health Hospitals in 2024 reported their system was under stress from an increasing number of migrants. As a result, according to the head of emergency departments and urgent cares across the hospital system, quote, access is impeded for everyone. These are healthcare professionals who dealt with this directly, and there's a lot more where that came from. It is an undisputed fact that Democrats want to give taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal immigrants, period. Ed.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Is the president talking directly to Democratic senators to try and get their vote for a clean cigar?
The Senate Republicans are speaking directly with moderate Democrats. I understand those conversations have become very serious, and we hope positive in the right direction so that Democrats will do the right thing.
I don't know if you saw overnight a refinery in California went up in flames. Is the president going to help the governor should gas prices spike, or could he help the governor?
Look, I know the administration and the White House are aware of that situation that took place. I don't have any announcements for you, Ed, on that.
Has the president seen the first draft of the commemorative coin that the Treasury is doing for the 250th anniversary? It has his face on it.
Oh, I'm not sure if he's seen it, but I'm sure he'll love it. Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. It's now being reported that former President Biden's DHS and TSA placed peaceful January 6th protesters and even Americans who refused to wear masks during COVID onto watch lists usually reserved for terrorists. Most of these people were not charged with crimes. Does the White House have a comment on the prior administration violating the free speech and due process of these Americans? And where is the outrage from the left that claims to stand for due process and free speech? And after that, I have another question about protecting journalists from Antifa.
Sure. Well, Karen, to your first point, please send me that report. That's certainly very concerning. I haven't seen it myself, but if indeed that was happening, it's something I'm sure the Department of Justice and the FBI would deem worthy of looking into.
And journalists, as you mentioned earlier, are being increasingly attacked by leftist protesters. I was actually assaulted outside of President Trump's United Nations speech, and I think the White House is aware that a Portland journalist was almost blinded by an Antifa protester. This has been a problem that's gone on for years, and police often say that their hands are tied. Does the White House have a plan or a plan on issuing a statement maybe discouraging this violence against journalists out on the street like me and so many others in this room?
Well, I hope that my statement earlier in the briefing served that purpose, but of course, we condemn violence against anyone in this country, and journalists as well, who are exercising their First Amendment right. And there have been so many incredible independent journalists across the country who have gone undercover within Antifa and really have come to understand how this is a growing domestic terrorism threat inside of our country. And I would encourage maybe some of you in this room to get outside the Beltway and go do some of that undercover investigative reporting, because it is really incredible what they found. I met with one of them in my office yesterday, and they're doing very dangerous work in difficult circumstances, and Antifa is a very violent group, as you've experienced and that many others in the media have as well. Christian.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Following up on Libby, sort of on the other side of the abortion debate, has the president abandoned his campaign pledge to mandate insurance coverage for IVF services?
No.
Was there any update on that? We flew by that May EO deadline for the White House to produce a plan.
I literally just read a statement from the Health and Human Services on you, for Libby at least, as far as IVF goes. I'll check in with our policy team and we'll get you some updates.
And then on Russia, how concerned is the White House that the Russian Navy seems to be escalating its provocation of NATO allies? I'm talking, of course, to the several close calls they've had with the Danish military during the EU leaders meeting in Copenhagen.
It's something the administration takes very seriously, and we are constantly monitoring it. The National Security Council here at the White House is in constant correspondence with our NATO allies, and the president speaks to many of them as well.
Yes. We've seen the spate of gun violence in this country, both mass shootings. We've seen this Michigan church that was attacked, children being shot in pews in Minnesota. We've also seen politically motivated assassinations of Minnesota lawmakers Charlie Kirk. Has any of this made the president or the White House rethink gun safety prevention in this country? Either red flag laws, I know that was a conversation in the first Trump administration, or is there anything on the table right now on gun violence?
Of course, this is an extremely pressing issue for the administration in our entire country. It's deeply alarming to everyone here, the violence that we've seen taking place all over the country, the assassinations that have unfortunately, tragically taken place throughout the last several months. There are many discussions about how to prevent such violence and how we can ensure that law enforcement has the resources they can on the ground to not only respond, but again, to prevent such tragedies from taking place. If there are red flags with an individual in the community, that they are treated as an emergency, a public safety emergency, not just, turn a blind eye to. There's many other things we can do, but the administration and the president has always also made it clear he's always going to protect the constitutional right, Second Amendment constitutional right of Americans to own guns.
For Congress to pass a federal red flag law. Right now, they just incentivize states financially to have red flag laws. But I know Lindsey Graham has worked on this as a Republican. There are some Republicans that do support this kind of gun safety legislation.
I don't want to get ahead of the president on any congressional action or any suggestion to Congress on that matter. Andrew.
Thank you, Caroline. Two things. First, to follow up on something you said earlier about hospitals treating undocumented or illegal aliens. Is it the administration's position that hospitals should not have to treat people who come into the emergency department who are not here legally?
No, that's not our position. Our position is that it's completely unacceptable that the Biden administration paroled and encouraged an invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens into our country and then promised them free health care. And the Democrats are on the record repeatedly stating that they believe illegal aliens should have health care benefits, free health care benefits in the United States of America. So that is a recipe for a disaster. Of course you're going to encourage a mass illegal invasion of our country, which is exactly what happened. And we've seen the unfortunate consequence of that, where American patients are being put last, where American patients are having to wait in wait rooms, where grandmothers and grandfathers are waiting hours and hours for care because they're being put behind the line to illegal aliens. And we don't agree with that. We don't support that. That's why the administration is desperately trying to fix it and deport the tens of millions of illegal aliens that the Democrats and the Biden administration allowed into our country. And we'd love to continue doing that work so long as the federal government is reopened. And there are many federal law enforcement agents and officers right now who are working without pay. That's unacceptable. The Democrats need to reopen the United States government, and we hope that they will do the right thing on the Senate floor in just a few moments. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, that was some news conference, and this time we're going to do something a little bit different. I want to hear from the Democrats, the Republicans, and the non-voters. I'm going to read your questions, and I know people want to be heard. If you super chat us, I will see it immediately. But I want to hear from you guys. Usually I do a lot of the talking, and I have my own viewpoints about the whole press conference. But I want to hear what you guys think, the American people. Now, we don't have individuals on here that's just one party. We have the Republicans, the Democrats, and non-voters that are on this chat. So I want to hear from you guys and actually take the time to read what you have to say. So, okay, I see. Let's see. Somebody say something that's relevant or super chat us because we have thousands of people in the chat, so we might not hear you. So that's an issue. You can come out here. So far I see Ice Ice Baby. Okay.
See the typical.
Where are the Epstein files? Okay, that's coming from Jay. Where are the Epstein files? So a lot of people have a lot to say about the Epstein files. I don't think that's ever going to go away until it's actually addressed. Charlie Kirk would still be alive if he listened to.
Okay, you don't have to read that.
Okay. All right. You can see it better than I can. You guys super chat us so we can see some of your viewpoints because we want to hear the opinions of this news conference from the left and from the right and non-voters.
Someone said iPhone 17 coming out this year.
Donald Trump is in the files. Okay, we've heard that a lot. Okay, what are some comments? Yeah, super chat so that they can pay rent. Okay. If you think that, you know what, we bind that up in the name of Jesus because we don't make any money off of this channel. And we said that to super chatters because we have at least 3,000 or 4,000 people that be in the chat. And normally I wouldn't even read the chat because I usually would just give my opinion. But I know I do that all the time, but I'm trying to take the time to hear from what you guys have to say. Okay, because my income, I don't lack any good thing because my help coming from the Lord. It comes from God. That's who it comes from. It doesn't come from you, especially not from this channel. I work. You know, people, that's the one thing that I noticed that people always go in when they see, especially black people, they make assumptions or people that's doing this. You know, just to be clear, we make nothing on this freaking channel. This is using our time and energy to bring to you, to hear from you, and to listen to you. And that's what this platform is about, speaking the truth. Whether you agree with us or not, we don't care. But I want to be in agreement with God, period. But I want to hear from you because this is America. And it's not just one body of people. It's not all white, black, Hispanic, Indian, indigenous, Asian. It's all of us together that makes up America. And we all have our different opinions about what's happening now in current time inside of this government. So we want to hear from you to take the time to give you respect, to listen to your comments, read your comments. And like I said, it's the truth. We have like 3,000 or whatever people in the chat, so we won't see what you have to say. If you want to stand out, then we will most definitely make you a priority so that we can see it. That's it, so we can see it.
Someone said they do the jobs Americans are unwilling to do, keeping the economy in check.
Okay, so who's doing the job?
I guess they're talking about people not from this people.
Yeah, so that's gonna be like who's doing the job. Thank you. You're welcome. Read a few. We're trying to. And see, we about to just like, you know what? We just about to, and you know what? The thing about it, you don't want to waste your energy on ignorance. One thing that let me educate you about who God is. God made the human race. There is no section in heaven for any particular race. And if you believe that, you can have your all white towns, you can have your all Asian communities or black, but in heaven, there's not a all any section. It's going to be all of us. All of us. And if you're a Christian and you think that you're doing the work of God, the devil is a liar. He's a liar. So when people make like their remarks and they try to stereotype everyone like the same, this is not 1865. This is not 1960. It's 2025.
1776.
Or 1776. We have social media. So everything you see that the mainstream media, or even what the White House has to say, I don't care who's in office, whether it's a Republican president or a Democrat president, we can fact check everything. We can find out everything with social media. There are thousands of people that have platforms now and have a voice. So all of that trying to define people by pigmentation, most of the world is brown, whether you realize it or not.
Someone said, but how you know heaven is mixed?
How you know that it's not? You think that
So
God
God
is a
going
white
wet.
God with only white people in a white section? Do you really believe that? That God made us all with the same brain? You don't understand that he didn't make one race of people smarter than the other? We all have the same abilities. All of us. And everything goes by education. If you're in an area that's deprived, you're not going to have the same tools as an area that has quality teachers and have everything they need to succeed. It's a difference. Environment makes a difference. It really matters how you grow up and where you grow up and your schooling. But no one is smarter than the other. It's about how much you achieve higher knowledge. That's why people go to college for higher education. So all of this, we got to learn to be, if you are American at all, we have to learn to be one nation under God because we're all here. And God did a beautiful thing with our pigmentation. And the beginning of time, everyone they had color to them. Like it's only been 10,000 years or less that you have what we call like a white race. But everybody was born out of the black race.
You guys can look it up, but some scholars
You can fact check all of this and look it up, but because they always want to erase history and take away truth and honesty. So all of us will, and in heaven, there's not going to be one pigmentation.
Well, you guys can look it up.
They still in the pigmentation. You won't make it to heaven.
Some scholars.
Because you're going to be upset if you see different, that God is, different pigmentations
Some
there.
scholars say that the Garden of Eden was actually in Africa, if you guys look it up.
Civilization began there.
The other place they say that it could have been was, I think Saudi Arabia, was where people have different skin complexions than what you would expect it to be.
So we need to get away from, I don't care what color you are. I don't care. I don't care who you think you are, how high up you are on the chart or whatever. I don't care. What I care about is what God thinks. I don't decide if a person is good or bad because the color of their skin. All black people aren't good, neither are all white people or Hispanic or Asian. We could go in each community. But this is supposed to be America and America first. That means all of us. And if we can't get to that, and we're always attacking each other when we have the real threats in this country, then we won't be prepared. Because it's coming. It's coming. Y'all not paying attention to the real threats with Russia, trying to bomb Poland, what's going on with Ukraine and Gaza. Y'all not paying attention to to what President Xi and the relationship with Russia is right now and how he wants Taiwan. We're strong as a nation by ourselves, but we're not stronger.
Jack.
We're not strong as a nation when we got to fight two world powers at the same time. Go ahead, you can read it.
Jack said Trump, and what's up, Jack? He said,
Hey, Jack.
He said Trump and the GOP are responsible for the shutdown.
Okay, see, now that's Jack is a regular on channel. Hey, Jack, we might make you a moderator. You know how to behave because we want to have both sides. We're not trying to do one side, even though we agree more with the other. But we want to have Democrats and Republicans that can have a clear, concise conversation that we can solve problems on our own. Because guess what? Our government is not trying to bring us together. No matter how much we love whoever's in office, I don't care if it's a Democrat president, what I'm seeing doesn't matter, it's a Republican president and administrations. They're not trying to bring us together like they should be. They like us divided. They like us arguing. We're still arguing about the left, the radical left, and all of that. And that comes from the head on down. But what we should be doing is bringing the country together because there's only one president at a time. So it concerns me when I hear the administration dividing the country. That's concerning. Because how are we going to fight against the real threats? Other Americans and using the military, the Americans are not the threat. They're supposed to defend us from the threats outside of this country. They're not supposed to have training grounds with American civilians. We have policemen for that. We have other federal agencies for that. And that does not send out a great message when you're like sending people out that's military that aren't trained for civilian policing. It's a difference. They don't know the laws for civilian policing and all of that. They know how to be soldiers. They're taught to train and defend this country, not use the military against American citizens. I don't agree with that at all. We need to fund our police, allow them to do their jobs. And we don't need people who are racist, that shoot on sight, that are scared if they see someone of a different ethnicity, that they feel like they're unarmed and they got to kill them when they're not committing a crime. That happens all the time. We need better education for our police force. And we need mental health workers to assist the police because a lot of things are going on. There's a lot of mental health issues in every ethnicity in this country. If you really follow the news, which they don't show y'all everything, which I will be doing shows on it, there's a lot of mental health issues that's going on inside of this country. And people aren't getting the help they need. And even if you're homeless, they want to throw you in jail if though it's a crime. I think that's wrong because anybody, any of us could fall on hard times and wind up on the streets. Don't think you're beyond that. The way these people are losing jobs that are Americans, living, see, what y'all need to understand, they're not just losing a high school job at Burger King. They're losing jobs that pay them living wages. In those jobs, they have vacation, they have medical benefits, they have different insurances, and that you don't get from In-N-Out restaurant. Those are jobs that they can put their kids through college. Those are jobs that you can take your families on vacations. Those are the jobs that you can live the American dream and be middle class. They're getting rid of the middle class. When you let go hundreds of thousands of people and they become unemployed, then guess what the unemployment rate looks like now? I can tell you the Black community, since Trump been in office, unemployment increased. I think 7.9 whatever percent, I'm not sure, but it went up. Because so many people are being fired and laid off. And my assumption, he was going to come into office and he was going to provide more jobs. And if we don't have the jobs now, then we don't need to keep firing people to enter the unemployment box, because they're not going to find those jobs that they're still at that they have now. They're not going to have those jobs, and they're going to lose homes. The housing is horrible. People can't even still buy houses. They're going to lose all the benefits that they have worked for maybe 20 years, and they're like, with this shutdown, they're going to be laid off to be fired, and the government is saying, great. But guess what? Laying off more employees or federal employees is not going to make a dent into a $37 trillion deficit. That's just going to be more poverty, more people without jobs, more people losing homes, more people getting cars repossessed, more of all of that. If we haven't replaced those factory jobs, whatever these jobs that are supposed to come in the country, I don't think it's a great thing to keep firing Americans. I want Americans to be hired.
Maroon, no, we didn't vote for Kamala.
I want them to be hired. This is about Americans. They talked about the open borders, how all the illegal immigrants, how they're taking jobs, how they have all the construction jobs, they have all the landscaping jobs, they have all the housekeeping jobs. Their job rate was skyrocketed while American jobs were like down here. But now we have a president in, you're getting rid of immigrants, but they still have the jobs. I don't hear about them being laid off or fired. You're having American jobs, which are those federal workers, and they're still firing them. That's not a good thing for America. Because those middle class are who's keeping this country running. It's not the rich and it's not the poor. So you're getting rid of the middle class, that you have the rich and just the poor. I don't believe in that. I believe in making it so that everyone can have an opportunity to be successful. That's what's important. So anyway, let me see what else you guys have to say. Thank you, Jack, for that super chat. Well, I'm going to read people that have something concrete to say, not people just talking their feelings.
Oh,
Go ahead.
thanks, Devin.
What did he say?
Oh, so he said, Devin said, hey, 2819 fam.
Oh, how did you know? You see the shirt? Yeah. Pastor Philip. Yeah. I love him. You know, I search high and low for Pastor Philip because it's hard to find a pastor that's actually preaching and teaching the word of God, that his wife is there. I love seeing the first family and that's being supported. And he's telling the truth. Yep, 2819.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it to that October the 12th, that all prayer access.
He said, just wanted to support y'all a bit. Happy I stumbled upon your live. Lifting you up to God in prayer.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Yeah, he knows what this means. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he recognized.
Yeah. Yeah, we 2819 all the way. God bless you. God bless you. Okay, read some of these, Elijah. See, we're going to read both sides, the Republican side and the Democrat side, and so that everyone has a voice, and then you guys can give y'all opinions and what their comments are saying.
Yeah. Chris Jones said, illegal immigration undercuts Americans' ability to negotiate higher wages. When there's a class of people who will work for cheap, it takes away the leverage.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. I agree. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because it brings down the living wages. If I have a company and I can hire, I have to pay health care and I got to pay all these benefits, and I can have someone that I don't have to pay health care, I don't have to give benefits to, and I can pay them under the table even lesser than the minimum wages, then that person, people are going to hire. And that brings down, that's why then they don't want to hire you even for minimum wages. They don't even want to hire you for that. And that's hurting America. Because it costs to be out here. It costs. Food is very expensive. Mortgages are expensive. Rent, car notes. Look what a car costs with some people are paying for their rent. But that's how much it costs to even own a car, especially a luxury car. I'm talking about luxury cars. Okay, what the other person say? That's just, see, some people just being silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, if you're going to say something concrete, because you sound silly, like some of the comments, that's why people can't take some people serious. You know, you can't take some people
It's like
serious.
satire.
You can't take some people serious because even just the comments show you like the level of your thinking. I mean, we're serious about what's happening in our country. We're living in a time that are the last days. We're living in a time that you better be seeking God because the Bible, we're seeing the Bible come alive in our time at like more closer to the end times.
How Diane said when she said, should a surgeon have higher wages than Taco Bell? To add to that, she said, nothing is equal. So I guess her point was saying like nothing is equal.
We know nothing is equal. We don't expect somebody that went to school for half their lifetime to become a surgeon and somebody just went and filled out an application for an after school job at Taco Bell that they're on the same level. No one is saying that. And everybody, that's understood. That's understood. But we don't expect for someone, like for people that have average jobs or whatever, that they rather hire someone like that construction site. They rather hire not an American, but they rather hire a non-citizen because they can pay them under the table. They don't have to pay them benefits. They can pay them lower wages. So that hurts Americans who are seeking the same job, doing the same work. You're going to be less hired than they are because, you know, the company's going to make more money paying them under the table at a lesser rate. But do you think God cures all? Do you think God, who's your creator? Who do you look for? Get ill, become ill. And I want to see if you say the same thing where you need God to help you because the doctors are saying there's nothing I can do for you. And you about to leave this earth. That's when it becomes serious. And you're going to learn everything if you have time about who God is. And especially if you need a miracle. When all hope is lost, God, you're going to realize who does cure all. That's God. God is in control. You're not in control. We're not in control. God is in control. Thank God you're still here. You know, it's like if you went through all that, had breast cancer and 8 surgeries, you should just have a whole another level of out, you know, opinion about everything that's going on. Because when you go through all that and you don't know what your outcome and you're still here, you need to be thanking God every day, all the time. That you're still here after 8 surgeries, that's because of the grace of God. Not because of those doctors, because of the grace of God. That means he still has something for you to do. Because if your time was up here on this earth, he would have taken you that 5th surgery or that 4th surgery. To have 8 surgeries and you're still here, God bless you. And you need to be thanking God. You know, that's when reality sets in when you're close to death.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
It changed your whole perspective when you're fighting for your life. All this petty stuff and the things you want to argue about, even on here, is not as important when your life depends on everything, your existence, or if you have a child that's sick, that has cancer. All this stuff isn't as serious. When there are other things that's happening in your life that's more detrimental. But people that losing their home today, they don't care about all this. They want to know where their help going to come from. And the government were holding monies that these communities need because they having this tug of war between the left and the right while
Okay.
people are suffering.
Carol, if you say that about what you feel, how God feels, which I don't know why humans try to say how God feels if it's not in the Bible, but if God doesn't quote unquote like Trump administration, what do you think God thought of Joe Biden's administration?
Read what was the comment?
They said the sad part is those who think what Trump is doing is okay. It's against all that God's about and it's not okay. It's pure evil from the pit of hell.
Well, you know what? This is how I feel at this point. You can't trust man. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. Everybody has a good speech when they're running for office, how they're going to take care of all the people. But when you look at the things that they're actually doing to the people, actions speak louder than words. When I look at the Democratic Party that I thought was for we the people, all the people, and they were for black people, and then when I look at the history of the Democratic Party,
Abortion.
how they were the ones behind Jim Crow, they were the ones behind filibustering the civil rights bill. It was the Democrats that filibustered that for 70 days. 70 days they tried to overturn it. And then when I look at Joe Biden, our former president, that he was the author of the 1994 crime bill that caused mass incarceration of our black men. And then they say, where are the black fathers? Well, you know, what's going on in the black communities when you're taking the head out the household and you want to ask that question? It's been left to the women. And 300,000 women since Trump been in office have lost their jobs. More black women have lost their well-paying jobs than any other demographic. So, and then when I look at that, it was Bill Clinton that signed, Democrat, the law, that he signed it into law, the 1994 crime bill. And then when I look at the party changed from, they changed to the LGBTQ. There wasn't even such things as these letters until President Obama. There was no LGBTQ. There was no lettering that we have now. And he wasn't a president for the black community. He was only the president. His goal was the LGBTQ community. And that's when you had your same-sex marriages that go against the word of God.
Didn't Biden go to KKK members?
Yeah, well, he did a eulogy of I think one of the grand wizards of the KKK. He was friends with him. You know, so it's like when you look at some of the history, then President Biden, he opened up the borders. We have this immigration problem, not for the immigrants that already been here the last 15, 20, 10 years. But when they opened up the border for the last 4 years, the people that came in were not the best of the best. We had every terrorist group, every group around the world, from gangs, MS-13, Trinidad and Raga, the ISIS, cartel, everybody, criminals let out of prisons, they were murderers, and I usually go down the list, but I don't feel like it. But that was let into this country by the former administration. So when they turned away from God, that's what turned me off from the Democratic Party. And then they ran on abortion. God is not into eliminating babies. You have to let me finish. Go ahead.
Never mind.
No, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
You know, so that's when I turned away from the Democratic Party, because they went against my values that I hold with God. God is not in that party and those beliefs. But and then there was never an anti-hate crime bill that was promised to the black community. I helped get them elected. I am an activist, an advocate, a legislative director. I fought hard. I could put up receipts and pictures and everything that I could pull up. You can even see some of my videos, maybe with Biden. But I'm with all of them. Even my senator that I really love, I got their phone numbers. They texting me because I'm not really still on board with them. My family is with the party. So this was like stepping out away from the party because of the values that I have that I saw in the party. But then when I had looked at Trump, then I was like, well, Trump, he did, when he was previously in office, he did a lot for HBCUs. He made it so that they didn't have to come every year begging for money. He increased the money. He never did the 1994 crime bill, causing mass incarceration of black people. But now, this administration has taken a turn. But Biden never tried to erase history. That's serious. That's serious. Removing books, going to the Smithsonian, trying to scrub and whitewash history, what was done to black people in this country that was enslaved in this country, and trying to erase everything, and trying to say we're going to go by merit. There's no merit. And want to label DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, as a black thing when we are the last on the list to get hired. It don't. DEI never benefited black people. Never. Never benefited us. But every time you see maybe that black pilot now, or that engineer or scientist or doctor or whatever, you think that they got in because of diversity, equity, inclusion, not that they were at the top of the class, because you got to be the best of the best when you're black. You got to do all your homework. When you see in those positions, they're not getting the positions because it was given. Nothing has been given to black people. But we're the face of it. We always wind up the face of it. And that's wrong. To label us thugs and violent, but you don't label other thugs and criminals that are out here doing all kinds of things, mass murders, mass shooters, all this stuff that's going on, and never mention it, that makes you like question what's going on here. So now this administration has sort of like, okay, what's going on? Because I can tell you right now, there's no merit is not in it, because when you have a community of some people that think someone is lesser than them according to the color of their skin, it's not merit. It's like you're unqualified walking in the door. You're unqualified walking the door. The only ones that's qualified is of your orientation. That's what's being said but not said. That's what the deal is. So if you have a young man, two young men that go in for the same job, guess what? If you're black, I don't care how many degrees you have, and that person gonna have no degrees. You're not gonna get chosen over that person. It's not gonna happen, because that's how this country is. That's what's happening. That's why this came into fruition, affirmative action, things like that, because black people who are qualified were not being hired or given the opportunities. It's not like if you're a certain race that you're not as smart. That's a lie from hell. God didn't make you smarter. And a lot's been done in this country underhandedly against people of different ethnicities. We can look back, but you can't. But race and history, that's not right. That's not right. But we're here to tell. They got books all around the world that can say what has happened in this country. You can't stop people from telling their children, and what people still going to know, because we have social media now. You can't shut everything down like before in the past. You just had those certain radio stations and certain television stations. Right now is worldwide knowledge. Worldwide. You could Google anything. You could Google about slavery. You could Google the perpetrator. You could Google everything. You could use AI for everything. You could go to ground news that show you the right and the left. So you can find information, but it's wrong to try to erase the ills that was done to people in this country, because it's nothing to be ashamed of. The truth is the truth. But to do that, like, what is that all about? What are you afraid of? To tell the truth. And then you talk about merit. You're not going to walk in the building and get the job no matter what your qualifications are. That's what the problem was, and still exists today. Those things came about for a reason. Affirmative action and things like those programs. And it's not like it's been this great mass hiring. It never has been. If you look at all the executives and all that in this country, it's like, what, 95% white. What diversity, equity, and inclusion? And that's the truth. But now we got this flip the script. like the people who have succeeded in this country are now the victims of this country. Let's erase history. That's not right. That's not right. And I thank God for my white brothers and sisters, Hispanics, Asians, Latinos, Indigenous. Everybody wants to do what's right. What happened to doing what's right? We're not here to appease you because you don't want to hear the truth. The stuff that's going on right now, even with this shutdown, more people, we have a party of people that think this is a great thing to be able to lay off and fire more people. Americans. I don't ever think it's a great thing. I don't care what your occupation is. I don't think it's a great thing for Americans to be losing their jobs. Ever will I believe that. Because God has always blessed me never to lack any good thing. I never lacked any good thing. I've been always well provided for. And my entire family and extended family, we all have done well. My brothers or my family, they never been in jail. They never been in that. We all own single homes. We all drive luxury cars that are paid for. We all are highly educated. My mother got a PhD. You know, my other son has double degrees. My daughter is phenomenal. She up there. You're gonna see her. She'll probably be president one day. I don't even talk about the accomplishments of my family. So when they put us in a box and stereotype us, it's wrong. They take one community, they always Chicago is always the go-to point. They could have solved, the Democratic Party could have solved that with resources. It's all about resources and poverty. But we can spend billions of dollars in Chicago on non-citizens using Black people's money, taxpayers' money. They use their money to take care of non-citizens, but in a community that needs the support and resources, they don't put. They could stop it. It ain't that hard for that one community. They want it to go on. They like Black on Black crime, but they don't talk about around the country. That's like the poster child. But they make it like it's all Black Americans, and it's not. It's not. When you got a president that's saying that Black people was born that way, what does that say to the world? What does it say to all the communities when that's a lie? But you don't address the crime that's going on that supersedes the Black community by far. We have to do what's right. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to go along to get along. This is called Speak the Truth 2.0 for a reason. Because until we can accept what's going on and we try to work it out, because no matter who's in office, it's the same thing. Just because the Democrats was in office, it wasn't better for everyone. And the Republicans in office, it's not better for everyone. But this divide that's going on all the time, calling, the president, we got to stop calling radical left and labeling people and all of these means and all. It's not funny about this shutdown. People are going to be hurt behind this while they play politics and point the fingers at each other. I'm not here for that. They're going to blame each other who's better while people are still suffering and going through the bullshit that they're going to, they're having fun. They want to muscle the other group and the other group trying to push back when nobody wins like this. But the country is changing. But I don't think part of it should be erasing the history of Black people and white Americans in this country. We're trying to remove all artifacts, but you put up Confederate statues. What does that send out to all Americans? And you have Americans of all ethnicities that are against the injustices, regardless of party. Regardless of party. And I want it regardless of party. Because I don't serve man, I serve God. Regardless of party. I'm not governed by people. I have to stand before God and give an account of my life just like you will. And if you think that it's all white in heaven, you're going to be in for a rude awakening if you make it there with those values. And the same thing for black people and all the ethnicities. God made the human race. And he made all our inner parts the same. There's no difference. No difference whatsoever. Google it. Ask ChatGPT if a certain ethnicity has a smarter brain. Because there's no such thing. There's no such thing. So we need to get it together as Americans and stand on business. And when the real threats come, guess what? That's in that military. Blacks, whites, Hispanics, indigenous, Asians, and all of us have to go to war against real threats together. So making the threat, like the president says, within. No. If you're going to be about peace, be about peace. But the threat is not from within. And we're giving military training by using them to go after the people that they are supposed to protect. It doesn't go right. So anyway, you guys, let me read a few of your comments and then I'm going to jump off. Made in the image. That's right. Amen. You're so on point with truth. Amen. God bless you. Want to read that one?
Which one?
Read aloud.
Crying to someone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm tired of Americans, like Americans are being turned away from being treated. People have died because they couldn't get treatment or they couldn't get health care while we provided it for 14 plus million people that entered this country. It's that, you gotta, we're not saying anything. It wasn't their fault that this government had opened up the borders and told them to come in.
Maybe.
But it's unsustainable.
Maybe next stream we could show them that video we found.
What?
Of the Americans being out on the street.
Yeah, I'm gonna show them what it looks like when Americans are out on the street and how they're living and how they're not being taken care of. And we're providing all this for people that aren't even citizens of this country. You can't go to China and you're American and they're gonna take care of you over their people. Or go to Russia and they're gonna take care of you and give you all the rights and their health care over their people. You're not going to even go to Ukraine and they're going to do that. There's nowhere in the world you're going to go and they're going to put you over their citizens. Well, that's what America did to Americans. They put other people from other countries over American citizens. That's what had happened. And America wants people to come in, but it's a process. You apply for citizenship like you would in any other foreign country. You do it the right way. And then we can sustain it. And then you learn about the history of this country. You learn how to be an American citizen and learn American values, which is missing from non-citizens. They come in, they burning our flags. They don't even respect this country because everything's been given to them. You give your child everything and they don't earn it. They don't respect you. They don't respect your house. Same thing.
Remember we saw the video of them saying they was throwing away the food?
They've thrown away the food. Y'all not giving us what we like to eat. They were throwing away food when we got starving, homeless Americans on the street, living in cars and vans. That's the new deal.
James said, what do you think will happen with unemployment?
I think unemployment is going to continue to skyrocket. It's just going to go up. We're going to have more unemployment if we continue than anything else. Because this administration feels like they're doing their job by firing all the federal workers who are living wage jobs, who the middle class that support this country. We don't have any of these companies here that he talked about yet. I think this was too soon. Everything is about timing. If you're going to fire all those people, then where are the jobs for them to get to go and work? Where are they going to work at? It was only 22,000 jobs added the last time they even released the job report. 22,000 jobs, and now they're not releasing anything. The unemployment rate is continue to climb.
Like Shador says, you need perfect timing.
Yeah, you need perfect timing. Until those companies that pledge to build factories, you know how long it takes before even factories to hire people? So what are people supposed to do in the meanwhile until these promises that are met, that are kept? I think more houses are going to go up for sale, and more people are going to lose their homes and everything.
How do you feel about what Pete was saying? Like, do you think they should? Well, they are doing it, but do you think it's necessary being so strict on the military, like your body?
I think what Pete had said was crazy. I didn't respect that at all. I'm gonna be honest. To bring in 800 generals and admirals from around the world and spend millions of dollars to have them sit there and listen to his rhetoric when he hasn't served on the level as those generals and admirals. And he's going to talk about, I do, what is it called, PT or whatever, and they should all do, if I do it 5 a.m. or whatever the case, like they should do it. And he said FAFO, and that was supposed to be a joke, and going to, just talked about him, and then almost saying like, to not even treat other soldiers properly. It's all right to sort of like bully them. If you know anything about the military, it's hard in the military. They do bully those soldiers already. They go through hell, a lot of them, something they volunteer to do for this country, but they're not all treated well. But for him I don't think that was deserving to tell them to leave their commands, to go there, to listen to his rhetoric. I don't think that's something could have been sent through an email or a Zoom call for them to sit up there and listen to that mess and talk about the enemy within and all this. And I didn't like President Trump's speech, to be honest, at the time, talking about there's 2 N words. And how we gonna and talk about Chicago. What that has to do with these generals and military, and we got to fight the enemy within Americans. That was like the worst of the worst for me. I can't go along. I can't go along with everything. And I won't go along with everything. I don't think that was right. And they said they spent $28 million or whatever to have all them come to Quantico, Virginia, for that. They call them fat. It was, I don't know what that was all about. So if there was any attack in the world, we had all our leaders there in one room that's supposed to keep us safe, and commanders. That was a good time to strike the United States. We had them all there.
And then you changed it to Secretary of War.
And and then you want to say war on America. Look, I'm sorry. I don't believe in that. I believe that our troops are supposed to protect us from threats, not put them on the streets and go after Americans. That's not what they signed up for. That's not their oath. That wasn't their oath. So I'm not down with it.
Yeah, because we have to fix what Joe Biden did to this country.
So I look at both sides. I'm not looking at one side. I just want to be on the right side. The side that's going along with what's right. That's the side I'm on.
The right?
What's the side, whatever is right, regardless of party. And I've been on both sides. And now I've come to the conclusion, no matter who's in office, in order for this country to be what it should be, we have to hold our elected officials accountable. We can't go along with everything, especially when they're wrong about things. We're going to call it out. And that's the right thing to do. So anyway, you guys, we're going to come back on, but I wanted to hear from you guys and hear more for what you have to say. Elijah, can you read these? Okay, read this. Read Jack, and then read the Mr. Buki. What they're saying. Read Jack first. Because he's Democrat. We know that.
Yeah.
And the Mr. Buki, we know he's Republican. So we want to.
Jack said, Mr. Busky, you're on the wrong side here. You should be advocating for millions that will lose their health care.
That's
And
okay.
Mr. Busky said, Jack, the millions of illegals that we can't afford, I'm fine with that. No other laws, no factual government writings to back your claims.
Okay, what are they saying?
Um,
Yeah, Mr. Boo, you said I'm independent. At this point, I'm a register. I'm being independent. They're going to have to earn my vote. Everyone. 2026 and 2028.
well, if I'm not voting for Republican, I'm just not going to be voting. I'm not voting for a Democrat.
Well, anyway, you guys, thanks for joining us. God bless you guys. We want to do more. And we might bring on one day Jack and the Mr. Buki, because that's going to be, we need to bring them on.
Like a debate.
Yeah, we want to start doing that because we want to have these conversations.
Would they be okay with debating live?
Yeah, well, I'm quite sure Jack would love it. But we're going to bring on, different people. So we're going to need people's email address so we can send you a link, and we'll bring you on so you guys can have conversations. That's what I want, because we're not going to be biased like how the media was. And that's how I went along with Trump. I said, why they, 93% of the things they said about him was negative. But some of the stuff he's doing is like, okay, don't make them true Trump. So anyway, you guys, we love you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for giving us your likes, and we appreciate it. We will be back on. So God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you, the Mr. Buki. I think was Indoor was on. Thank you, Indoor.
Thank you, Indoor.
And thank you, Jack. Yeah, you keep it going. We're not mad at you. We're gonna show you, like, we appreciate everyone.
Now they both said hearts.
So God bless you guys. Thanks. You guys do a great job. Really great job. And we think about you, Jack, but you gotta be civil. We allow you to be a moderator. We don't want to keep losing all the people because y'all wanna y'all want to remove people. We want the conversation. That's what this channel is about, to have real conversations. Thanks.